Alright guys, welcome to your 33rd HTML5 tutorial. Only two more functions to go until we have a nice, fine working video player. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to update the progress bar. Because right now, if we go ahead and check out our website, launching Chrome, we have a nice default bar on the bottom, but we don't have a progress bar at all. We don't have that blue bar that's moving. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get that blue bar that moves along with your video as your video plays. So under your play or pause function, go ahead and make a function called update. Now, why do we need to name it update? Because that's what we called it whenever we said, okay, set interval and call this function every half a second when our video is playing. So this is the function that's going to get called every half a second, depending on, what time you set in milliseconds in your set interval. So let me just go ahead and hit function, and mine is called update, and it's not going to take any parameters, and it's just going to do some grunt work like before. Now the very first thing we need to do is we need to check if your movie is playing or if it is not playing. So go ahead and add a nice little if statement, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy this right now. If the movie has not ended. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, if the movie has not ended, then it must be playing, or it must be somewhere in the middle of the movie. So when it is playing, or basically when it has not ended, what I need to do first is calculate how big I need the bar to be. So before we can plop it on the screen, we need to calculate the size of it. So go ahead and make a variable, just call it size, and I'm going to set this equal to parse int, and what this is going to do is it's going to take the calculation and round it to the nearest integer, basically, or turn it into an integer. Whenever you parse something, you pretty much force it to be an integer. And I'm just going to give you guys the formula for this. I don't want to talk you guys through it too much. It's my movie, which is our video, and current time. Actually, you need to set it like that. Current time with the T needs to be a capital, and you need to multiply it by the bar size. Now that's why we took the bar size, and we actually got that from the width of the default bar. It's the size of this yellow bar right here, and we actually can put 600 right in here like this. But since we may change that later on, and since you guys are programming this, following along, you may have a different size, let's just go ahead and use that variable bar size and set it over my movie.duration. Make sure I spelled that right, and it looks good to go. Now, a couple things I want to point out. First of all, take the current time, or, if this video was like 4 minutes long, the current time would be like 2 minutes, and you're going to multiply it by 600 in this case and divide it by the total duration of your movie, which would be like 4 minutes or something, and that's going to give you the size in pixels of however long your bar needs to be. Now, don't worry about the formula. I don't really want to explain that, but what I do want to point out is this current time property and the duration property. You're saying, how the heck does your website know the current time and the duration of your video? Well, that's something cool that we got along with JavaScript and HTML5. Whenever a video is playing, your browser already knows how long that video is, and also where in that video, pretty much the current time of that video. So those properties are already built in. We don't need to build extra functions for that. So how cool is that? Again, like I said, browsers are really smart nowadays, so might as well take advantage of it. So now what we need to do is we already have the size in pixels of the progress bar stored in the variable size. So now we need to say, okay, CSS, instead of this default 0 pixels, we need to change the width of the progress bar. However, we just can't go ahead and change it right here every time. So how do you access a CSS property through JavaScript? I'm going to show you guys an awesome way to do that. The very first thing you need to do is get whatever element you are working with. We're working with the progress bar. So go ahead and hit progress bar. Now, in order to change any style, any CSS property, just go ahead and hit style. And now, after that, hit what property do you want to change? Well, we want to change the width. And you say, okay, you want to change the width. Now, what do you want the width to equal? Well, we want it to equal the number of pixels, in other words, that size variable. However, we just can't say width equals 250. We need to say width equals 250 pixels, width equals 250 inches, width equals 250 miles. So we need to add px on the end of this. So in order to do that, you write your variable, which is size. Say this is like 80 or something. It's going to be 80 plus, and I think I might have accidentally hit caps lock there. Nope, I didn't. Plus, and in single quotations, put px. So then if this calculates to 80, it's going to be change the width to 80 pixels. If it calculates to like 120, change the width to 120 pixels. And this function is going to get called over and over and over again. Now, it's probably going to, more likely than not, it's going to grow by like 1 pixel every second. So the size of this entire bar is going to change by 1 pixel. It's going to get wider and wider every second. So now that this is basically what happens when the video is playing. However, what we need to do is we need to set another bit of code. And let me make sure I didn't forget my semicolon. There we go. So this is what happens whenever the video is playing or whenever the video has not ended. However, whenever the video does end, what do we want to happen? Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to reset this to 0 pixels because we want to put our progress bar right at the very beginning. So what we can do in this case is actually get rid of this variable right here because, we don't need to calculate anything. We can just write 0 pixels just like that. Another thing that we want to do is we need to change the button text to play. So if the video is playing, remember the button text is pause. Now what we want to do is we want to set that to play, and we already coded that, so let's copy that and change it to play. So basically whenever your video plays and it ends, and it's pretty much going to stop, and we want to set that button to play again unless they want to watch the video again or something. And the last thing we want to do is what this update function is going to do is it's going to change the size of the progress bar as we just saw. So whenever the video has stopped and it's not playing or it's paused or something, we don't want them to update the size. We want it to stay 0 pixels. So again, what we need to do is we need to say, okay, clear interval of that update bar. In other words, pretty much stop updating. Remember, I talked about that in the last tutorial. So that is all I have to code in this tutorial. Basically, to recap one last time, this update method is responsible for changing the width of the progress bar as the video is playing. Again, this progress bar is going to grow in width as the video is playing. It's going to change size. So when the movie has not ended, as the video is playing, it's going to calculate how big it needs to be, and it's going to change it through CSS. It's going to change the width of that progress bar. However, when the video has stopped, say it got to the end, what it's going to do is it's going to reset that to 0, make the text on the button say play, and it's going to say stop updating or stop changing the width of that progress bar because you're not playing, you're just paused, you don't need to change widths. So that is all we have to do for this function. In the next tutorial, what we're going to be doing is we're going to write, we pretty much took care of all the button functionality, but we also want them to be able to scroll through depending on where they click on this default bar right here. So we're going to be coding that function in the next tutorial, and then that is our very last function. Then we can test this baby out, and I can show it off to you guys, and you can show it off to your mom and dad, whoever you want to. So there you go. I can't wait. I'm super excited. So thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in the next tutorial.